Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles. Monday morning, I was up and down at the gym by 6 o'clock. I cleaned up and ate by 7 before going downstairs to walk across the street at 7:30. Street traffic was low, so I looked to see if there were any parked cars to worry about and started out. My cane became stuck in one of those stupid open grates they have in the sidewalk. This caused me to begin to fall. As I was going down, there was something smacking the pavement and sidewalk near me with a whining sound. I finally realized that someone was shooting at me, so I abandoned my cane and hopped back to the hotel door. The hotel lobby marshal saw what was happening and was immediately out of the hotel looking up toward the parking garage. He was on his radio, and in just seconds, men were coming from the federal building running toward the garage. Just as they reached the garage, a white Ford Victoria roared out of the garage and down the street. Two of the marshals kept running to the garage, roaring out in one of the pursuit vehicles. Meanwhile, the hotel marshal was making sure I wasn't hit before going out into the street to pull my cane free of the grate. I said, "This is the first time I've ever been happy my cane got stuck in one of those grates. I wonder why the guy quit shooting. It looks like he fired only 4 rounds and quit." I went back across the street, this time with a man on each side of me, went through the metal detectors and up to the office. The first thing Serena did was to interview me as to what had just occurred. She typed the interview up quickly and had me sign it. Next, she wanted the list of all the videos I had watched. She filled out a marshal training form and listed all of them and their grade value. She had another stack of videos that were required viewing by new marshals. She said, I might as well be gaining knowledge in the correct order. Howard came in saying, "The shooter got away." There's no way to track a white Ford Victoria in a Florida city that probably has 2,000 or 3,000 of them on the street at any one time. You were lucky out there, Johnson. I'll bet you look at rooftops from now on. Don't just look at street level. Always check areas that would give a shooter a line of sight to a target. You'll learn. He introduced me to another marshal who would be accompanying me for the day. Go to work. Stick to your routine. That's probably the safest thing you can do right now. Your predictable homework. Repeat, you're only vulnerable when you're out in public. He paused, shaking his head. I'm surprised they went through with it so openly. This guy's bold, the marshal assigned to me asked. Want to head down to the range? They've got all the ammo you could ask for. Let's work on your shooting a bit. Get you sharper with your sidearm. We both grabbed ear protection and checked out 50 rounds each of practice ammunition. I emptied my magazine and reloaded it with the training rounds. My first set of shots all hit the target, but the pattern was scattered with a few landing near the edges. The second round tightened a bit, all within the body outline, but still wide. By the 5th round, I had a tight grouping centered around the head of the target. The marshal I was with was just slightly better with his Glock. He said that I was a hell of a lot better shot than most of the guys in the marshal service. He said most of them had to slowly fire single rounds, at a time. We had rapid-fired 10 rounds in each set. We policed our brass to turn in and reloaded our magazines with our original rounds. I asked the range officer if he had a cleaning kit. He pulled out one made specifically for my weapon and one for a Glock. We stripped our pistols, cleaned them thoroughly, and put them back together. When we were both done, we thanked the range officer and left for my car. Instead of playing tag, we were going to take only one vehicle today. At my office, I checked in with Ms. White, who had already been informed of my close call this morning. She asked my watchdog if he thought I would attract any danger to the building. He didn't think so, but he said he would be watchful. Mrs. White said that a lady would be up to help me shortly. She told me that I could use the office next to mine for the new person, and to make sure I gave good directions in order to help the people we were hired to help. As soon as I entered my office, the phone was ringing. It was a response from the ad. I made the man an appointment for later this morning and began looking at several message slips. It took me until the time of my appointment to return the calls that had come in and to set up appointments. The new lady came in. We quickly discussed what our goals were, and I asked her to interview our new client with me. My first official client was not out of service yet, but wanted to look for work before deciding whether to re-enlist or not. We went over the pros and cons of military life. He was single and had just turned 21. By the time the interview was over, he was convinced to re-enlist for both the bonus and the rank he had been offered. The recruiting office should give me a spiff. At lunchtime, my shadow and I had to order from the sandwich shop. I had a nice time talking to the 5 girls and several of the other folks in the lunchroom. Brandy said she would call me later as she had something to ask me. The appointments in the afternoon were okay. Nothing special except that I did have a man from Wells Fargo Security come to give me parameters of the type of people they looked for. He had regular security jobs open as well as transport or armored car positions. I thank the man for being my first official employer. I wrote up my ad results report describing the 11 calls that were a result of the ads. There might be more during the rest of the week, as the Sunday paper tends to hang around a while. The new lady had a list of people she wanted to begin calling to see if jobs might be available. Brandy called me from her counter position and asked, "Are you allowed to go out or are you stuck in the hotel?" "Pretty much stuck," I answered. "How about a few of us come up to your room and play cards or games tonight? It might be fun and definitely better than being by yourself. I'd love that." "Brandy, if you guys want, whoever's coming should come early and have dinner with me. I also eat with the guy who is upstairs watching out for me. He'll join us. I'll talk to the others to see who all will come. If I'm the only one, you're in for a treat. I'll bring my nightie and we'll have a slumber party." Oh my, be still my heart. I'm not going to want a crowd then. "Listen, when you guys get to the hotel, you have to ask at the desk to go up to my room. That way the downstairs people can tell the upstairs guy you're coming. Got it. I'll definitely see you later, especially for the free food." By 5, all 5 girls had called saying they were coming. They were going to bring some chips, games, and a couple decks of cards. My shadow and I went back to the garage and walked to the hotel. He said, "You've had an interesting day. It was enjoyable to be with you. Maybe I'll get to do it again tomorrow." I told the downstairs guy at the hotel that some girls were coming in a little while. He surprised me by saying the elevator car had been replaced and was working fine. I told the upstairs guy about the visitors and he was excited, looking forward to see some cuties. After quickly changing out of my dress clothes, I called to see what this evening's special was. They were having Escalation tonight. That sounded good, but it would still need to be warm. Right at 6 o'clock, 5 girls came in. They were typical women and had to explore the penthouse, looking outside on the terrace patio and all around. They were impressed with the sliding wall that exposed the bar. I fixed each of them a drink and asked if they all liked Escalation. I got yes all around, so I called down and ordered 7 dinners with the appropriate wine, veggies, and dessert. We were soon dining with a marshal. We had salad and V over rice with thick sauce over all of it. The meal was accompanied with some asparagus, some great mild wine, and capped with some sherbet. A really great meal. All of us were full after the meal and decided to play some cards while listening to jazz from the cable. Nora had brought a bag of pretzel sticks, so we divided them up and played poker. Fredo was the poker player and soon had most of everyone's pretzels. Tanis went the fastest as she was nibbling on them, while also using them to bet with. Judy was doing pretty well too, and I was probably in 3rd place. We played cards till almost 10 o'clock when the girls said it was time to go home. All but Brandy left after each giving me a kiss. Brandy gave me a very warm kiss saying, "I told you I was staying." Is that okay? That is wonderful. Brandy, do you want a drink or can I get you something else? Just you. Let's shower and get in bed. I think we'll figure out something to do. The phone rang. It was the downstairs guy saying he was missing one of the girls that had gone up. I told him she was staying over and he laughed, obviously holding the other 4 there until he knew what was going on. He said good. The night was very nice. Our playtime was energetic enough that we had to take another shower about midnight. Brandy said that she should be fine if we woke at 6 a.m., so we snuggled up and enjoyed a satisfying night's sleep. I got Brandy off for home to change for work and went to the gym for an hour. After breakfast, I checked in at the marshal's office and with my same shadow went to work. I had another excellent day lining up another employer and actually referring 2 retired men to Wells Fargo. My bank even gave me a formal request that we were able to complete via fax. My shadow and I were on our way back to the garage, the office, and the hotel. I noticed a white Ford Victoria riding close to my back bumper, trying to find space in the traffic to get in the lane beside us. Since the car was acting strange, I told the marshal with me. He pulled his weapon and chambered a round. I was amazed that he didn't have a chambered round already. He was smart, though, as he didn't turn to look, but made sure I was keeping track of them. We were coming up to a cross street that didn't have any houses on it. The marshal called in to tell control of our location and our situation. I changed to the right lane with the car following us changing lanes as well. I signaled the turn while watching the car. He didn't signal and dropped back just a little. My marshal told me to go most of the way down the block, pull over and get down in the seat. He would exit his side and be ready to fire immediately. When I turned the corner, it almost looked like the car following us wasn't going to turn, but did follow us at the last second. I had sped up and was able to slide to a stop with the marshal getting out immediately while the car was coming up behind us. As it slid to a stop, I could hear rounds going off from behind, hitting the Mustang and shattering the rear glass. I could hear the marshal just outside the car firing. I slid across the seat over the console, keeping low, and went out the door, going around to the front of the car. When I looked at the Ford, the guy in the passenger seat was hanging out the window, obviously out of the fight. The driver was kneeling beside the car behind the open front door, concentrating on the marshal. When he rose up to fire, I quickly put 2 rounds in his head, causing him to fall backward. The marshal hollered that he was going to approach the car. He checked the guy hanging out the window looking for a pulse in his neck before he checked the guy I had shot on the other side of car. He lowered his automatic and holstered it. I did the same, finally standing. The marshal said, "You shouldn't have gotten out of the car. You are my responsibility. You did good, though. You waited until you had a clean shot and took the guy out. I got to call in and get the bureau out here." I could hear sirens coming as he called in the attempt and the result. He was told to keep any locals away as the FBI would want to roll on this. Their crime scene team would want to run the show. A Tampa squad car came sliding up with a cop jumping out, grabbing for his weapon. The marshal and I held up our badges with our other arm raised. The cop approached and checked our ID before approached the dead guys. My babysitter deputy said, "Don't touch. The FBI is on their way and will want the scene to be clean. Let's let them move anything that's to be moved. If you have markers, you might want to get them out and mark shell casings for them as well as us." Another 2 Tampa cars and an unmarked car came sliding to a stop. The marshal went through his speech about the FBI and asked them to stay clear of the scene. They were not happy, but that's the way it had to be. The unmarked car was a detective who brought out a camera and began taking pictures from every angle he could get. 2 unmarked cars arrived. One had Howard and the assistant marshal in charge in it, and the other had 4 FBI agents. A second later, an FBI CSI team arrived. They were instantly taking pictures and began going through the 2 dead guys' clothes, laying out the various things from their pockets. When they popped the trunk, they hollered to call an ambulance. In the trunk was an older guy that looked dehydrated. He was tied up with duct tape over his mouth. One of the detectives said, "That's Jennings from out in the county." They put out a missing persons report on him and his vehicle. Check these tags to see who they belong to. This is a county sheriff's car. The men there slowly lifted the man from the trunk and were pouring water over his mouth after they had removed the duct tape. An ambulance showed up to take care of the county officer and soon left for the hospital. Everyone at the scene was hoping for his recovery. Meanwhile, 2 of the FBI guys accompanied by the Tampa detectives had me and my shadow separated, giving them our individual versions of what had happened. The interviews took about 15 minutes. We were just finishing when a news van pulled up with people piling out. Howard began yelling for the uniforms to get those people out of here. As this was a sensitive crime scene that was not for public consumption, there was a lot of yelling that they had the right to cover a shooting or any public crime. The cops just told them that if they ever wanted access to something that wasn't sensitive, they better get out of there. They reluctantly loaded up and left. My marshal and I kept down in the seat of the car so we weren't visible to the camera while they had been out. Howard came over and said to me, "Yeah, you aren't going to be popular with the guys. You let those bad guys shoot up the Mustang. This is the most popular car in the fleet. I've already called the pool so they can fix this thing tonight. It'll be good as new by morning. This is the 3rd time the car has been shot. It's not very lucky. It took till almost 7:30 before they hauled the dead guys away and loaded up the Victoria and hauled it off. The boss, Howard, said, 'Drive this thing back to the garage, but park it downstairs by the shop. They are expecting you. Doug and I are going home.' On the way back to the garage, I commented to my deputy marshal, 'This is the 3rd time they've shot at me. I'm starting to get pissed. Too bad both of those guys are dead. I would love to hang one out the window to find out who hired him. I wonder if they have anything else from the original goons we had up in the office.' Let me check on them and see where they are. He used his radio and asked for the 10 to 20 of the suspects that had been in our office when the attack went down last week. Whoever was manning the radio said they were being held in federal private custody in the lockup there. I asked my marshal, "Are you married?" He shook his head no, so I asked, "Want to go to Reggie's for supper?" He answered, "I'll have to ask if that's all right. Let me call in." When he called, Howard answered back right away and said it was fine, but to be watchful. He told us to call the restaurant before we went, though, as they were really busy since Papa's was closed. We turned in the Mustang and checked out a surveillance car, an ugly green Malibu. I called Reggie's and asked for Reggie, saying I was a Fed. Reggie came on the phone and asked, "What do you want, Howard?" When I told him it was me, he said, "Come on over. Meat is here. You can eat with us." I told him I had someone attached to my hip. He told me to bring him too. "Park in the back. I'll tell what you drive." We parked in the back of the restaurant and went in the back door through the kitchen. We went to Reggie's office and knocked. We heard just a second. Reggie opened the door with his shirt partially unbuttoned and no tie. He had an eating grin on his face as he greeted us. Miss White was still straightening her clothes too, blushing a little. We were catching up on some home life. Business has been too good in this restaurant lately. This place is the star right now. We had a great shrimp scampi dinner along with drinks and wine. We chatted about several things, but never touching on my activities. Ms. White asked my marshal, "Are you guys going to steal my new agent?" "If we can, ma'am. He's already proven himself in a couple of hairy situations. I'd love to have him as a partner. The service needs men like him. Even the FBI inquired about him." Ms. White said to me, "I guess I'll have to up your salary to compete with these other agencies." "I'll fight for you, Chad. We really need some young male blood in the agency, especially some that's honest." After eating, I'd let the marshal drive us back, as I had had several drinks. Once we parked, we checked the street thoroughly before he accompanied me to the hotel. We said goodbye, and I checked in with the downstairs man and went upstairs. The hall guy was someone I didn't know, so I got acquainted with him and went inside to get ready for bed. It was nice to get off my stump tonight. It was a little sore from standing so much earlier. I had twisted the mount around and that bruised me a little, so I would be tender for a couple of days. I stretched out in bed and was quickly asleep. At 6 a.m. I was on my way to the gym, followed by breakfast and a guarded walk to the office. My shadow was there waiting, and I asked him if we could go down to the range. I wanted to clean my weapon, and I was 2 rounds short. While down there, I asked for the combat series on the range, and loaded 3 additional magazines they loaned me. The range positions were automated and were pulled back, and multiple obstacles were positioned. The range officer walked me through their combat series first, and did it again to explain the best angles to fire. He said the first series wouldn't give me any decisions, all targets. 40 rounds later, I felt pretty good that I had scored a 90. That was good in my way of thinking for a first run. I loaded my magazines while my partner did the series, and next it was my turn for the decision series. This you had to be a lot more accurate, and you were not ever as fast. I had 40 rounds in 120 seconds. Top scores were about 90% hits in 75 to 90 seconds. The decision series seemed easier than the target series. I was done in 87 seconds with 5 rounds left, scoring a 94. My partner said, "Holy, that's got to be damn near top score at the range." The range officer said, "You'll have to meet January." She's an FBI babe. That is really good. She's going to some competitions this summer. You two might want to team up. Don't get Deweed over her, though. I think she hunts in the other forest, if you know what I mean. I smiled and nodded. The officer advised us. She does a consistent over 90 and right at 70 seconds. It's really neat to watch her come just after lunch. She shoots almost every day, even weekends when she isn't on duty or gone somewhere. We cleaned up our brass and our weapons. I begged a couple of extra rounds so I would have full magazine. My martial partner, Ted, wanted to go upstairs a minute before we left. He went to Howard, who was talking to Serena and a couple of guys. The boy wonder just shot a 94 in 87 seconds. "What do you think about that?" Serena said, "You and Jan should get together. Maybe you can change her persuasion if you shoot with her." Howard said, "Leave FBI girls alone." They try to steal my men all the time. Ted and I walked to the garage to find the Mustang ready to go. His radio went off. Ted, Chad, come back to the office. The boys from downstairs need to talk to you. We walked back to find two FBI guys in the office. The one said, a federal judge just signed a writ of habeas corpus on Papa. I don't know how they knew he was here, but they served it in our office. We have the federal attorney general's office working on an appeal as we want the guy classified as a terrorist. I wanted to let you know the man might be getting out. We'll find out by noon. Howard said, call Miss White and tell her you have to stay here for a while. The way it's going, she might as well hire someone else for that job. It's going to be a while before you're back among the unwatched. One of the FBI guys said, the Beltway guys tell us that this group you've run into is national in scope and probably has every major underworld guy in the States involved. It's just another of their lucrative businesses. They're going to be pissed for a while for us catching on. You, Mr. Johnson, will be the object of their passion for a good while. They just hate to let someone like you get off. It's a thing they have. Howard said he's just trying to tell you that we may have to put you into the federal witness protection program. That's where we change your identity and put you somewhere no one will look for you. I think I'll take my chances here for a while, at least until you guys get tired of boarding me. Serena smiled. We can keep you just like you are for 6 months before we have to begin convincing you to go into the program. I looked at Howard and the FBI guys instead of that. Let's just clean this thing up and make it too hot for any of them to continue their hunt for revenge. An FBI guy said, phew. That's a lot of dead guys. You know those damn bullets can get you too. I nodded. Serena said, come with me, honey. I want you to have something. The guys all hooted and hollered that Serena was going to give me something very special. She blushed and said, I wish. Softly as we were going into the supply closet. What's your jacket size, honey? This is a 44, Serena. She thumbed through a bunch of vests and pulled one out. Put this on under your shirt. These are all Type 4 vests. This will stop everything up to a 50 caliber. Nah, you're still going to get broken ribs and bruises, but it's better than dead, Serena added. That's why you're taught to do headshots in some situations. Most everyone goes for the body. It's a bigger target. If you get hit, even with a vest on, it's going to knock you down. Hopefully, you'll still be alert and able to defend yourself. I tried it on and it fit nice and close. The material was surprisingly thin, so you didn't bulge out because of the vest. I tucked in my shirt and Serena said, let me. As she tied my tie and helped me on with my coat, she gave me a sweet kiss on the lips. Wear this and take care of yourself. Back out in the office area, Howard noted the vest. Good idea. Should have thought of that before. Hey, Ted, get a vest or at least remember to wear yours tomorrow. Ted nodded and headed toward the supply closet. Howard took a call and cursed as he slammed the phone back into the cradle. We have to let that slime ball out. The judge is only asking $50,000 for bail. Howard looked confused and got back on the phone. How does he rate only 50 when we have him cold on conspiracy to commit murder? I could only hear this side of conversation. What do you mean we don't have enough evidence? We have witnesses. Huh? How? Damn, how did somebody get at them? Who is it? No way. How in the hell did they get to him? Oh, I'll be right down. I want to help. Howard looked around and said, all of you, come on. We have to help the boys downstairs. One of theirs is in trouble. We all went into the FBI offices and right through the reception area into the main office. Howard said, okay, Mally, all of it. So we can all hear it. We found the 3 guys we were keeping in private custody cold this morning. Papa was down there too, but he was fine. We pulled the video of the rooms and saw Billy D come in and go to each of the 3 guys' cells and leave. Billy wasn't on duty, and when we checked the sign-in logs, his name didn't show up. We had the video, so we picked him up out of his house. He kept saying he can't leave because some people had kidnapped his wife and his 2 daughters. They were going to hold them until he offed the 3 stooges we were holding. The agent continued. We left, except we left Charlie Martin with him. About 15 minutes later, a guy calls and tells Billy, you ain't getting your family back till you off Chad Johnson. Billy tried to tell them that Johnson was guarded too tight. The voice said he didn't care. Either Johnson gets dead or he uses the daughters for a Saturday night party. The guy said he'd send his old lady's head to him for a souvenir. I must have looked bad as the FBI chief agent said, "You don't have anything to worry about from us. You're safe. We have to find Billy's wife and kids ASAP, though. I offered something. How about setting something up so it looks like Billy does shoot me? Make it out in the open where everyone sees it, and you make a production out of arresting Billy. If you were to bring him back here for custody, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. Make me look like a DOA and have the coroner's van come out to pick me up. Have me swap with the stiff they already have and spirit me away somewhere. If I have to go into protection, fine, but let's get his family." Howard said it might work. I hate to send the kid into protection, but we have to get Billy's family back. He's going to fry for those 3 hoods. If he's lucky, he might get some kind of homicide. It's hardly justifiable, though. Billy's family will be free, but he won't be. The FBI chief said, "Let's set it up. We'll do it out front of the building. Hennigan, go over to the coroner's office and have them load an unidentified homeless guy into the van. All of that office knows how to keep their mouth shut. Load up a magazine with blanks. Make them so that there are blood spots where they hit. Chad, I see you have a vest. Good. It'll keep the blanks from hurting too much. This time, we'll let the media see what we're doing. Don't give them the name, but say it's another person from the unemployment office. If I'm thinking right, a Tampa uniform will report to Papa. The deed is done. I'll radio Charlie to tell him to call me on his cell. We'll get Billy moving toward the office. Let's make this happen." As we were going back upstairs, Howard said, "You don't have to do this. I can get someone to look like you." "Not enough time, sir. Just do it. Where are you going to take me afterward? What can you plan?" "We'll set you up in Orlando for a while. Grow a beard or something. You're still pretty recognizable with that leg. So even if you're in protection, you'd be easy to find." Howard addressed everyone in the office from now on while we're on this case. No more random shots, no aiming for arms or legs. We aim to finish the job. If any of you get a shot at that slimy scumsucker, Papa, make sure he's done for good. An hour later, I was at the FBI office when they called Billy. They told him he needed to come in for some questions. Knowing his phone was probably tapped, Billy simply replied, "I'm on my way, but I'll keep it brief." Another agent had already gone to Billy's place. Swapping the blanks into his weapon, Billy was instructed to target the body to make the shot appear convincing. They pulled up Billy's GPS phone and watched as his car made it toward downtown. We got ready to go downstairs. We watched as Billy pulled into the garage and he came out walking toward the building. Just as Billy was coming across the street right in front of the building, I walked out of the door with Ted. Billy looked surprised, pulled his gun, and emptied the clip at me. All of his rounds hit me in the torso. The hits were hard enough that they knocked me down. Ted drew his gun and forced Billy to drop his. The man from the hotel lobby who had witnessed the scene rushed across the street. People began spilling out of the federal building, and soon the sound of police sirens filled the air. A medical technician from inside the building approached, pretending to check my pulse. He moved as if closing my eyes. One of the security guards emerged and covered me with a sheet. Serena was there, visibly upset, making a scene. While I lay there, I was told later that a limousine pulled up across from where I was. Papa Nardelli rolled down the rear window and shouted, "You don't mess with me." Nobody messes with Nardelli. He was lucky no one decided to shoot him on the spot. Billy was cuffed and sitting against the building, ready to be taken in. Just as the crowd around him began to thin out, I heard 2 muffled gunshots, followed by a sharp pain in my ribs. A group of people scattered from the scene, shouting, "There he is! There he is! Don't let him escape!" I heard Serena's voice ask quietly, "Are you all right? That hit you right in the lower chest? Does it feel like you were bleeding?" I responded, "No, I'm okay." Softly. Serena said, "Billy's dead. They shot him. Wonder why?" I could hear the FBI chief yelling, "Get these news people out of here. They have all the video they need. Let's get this place closed up. This is a crime scene. Now move it." About 20 minutes later, a voice said, "We put this one in last. We'll put the other one in the middle rack. Let's get him moved." A couple of minutes later, I was rolled sideways and back on a board. They picked me up, carried me to the truck, and slid me in. The doors all closed, and the van moved away. I could tell we were going slowly, probably to get around the crowd. As we were moving, a voice said, "Stay down a little longer. You don't have room to sit up. We'll be at the morgue in a minute." We stopped and I sensed the van was backing up. I could hear the difference as we went inside a building. As soon as the doors opened, I was slid out from under Billy and helped up. The attendant surprisingly handed me my cane. "Thought you might want that." The other attendant said, "Hey, how are you? Where did that round hit you while you were down?" I pointed at my ribs and noticed my new suit jacket had a hole in it. So did my shirt. I felt around and pulled out an out-of-shape bullet from my vest. "Damn, you were lucky to be wearing a vest. This thing you guys are working on must be a mess. Let's get you in the lounge. We have some other clothes to put on you. A pair of our coveralls. We'll take you out of here and hand you off in a bit." Ring ring. My cell phone was ringing. I looked at the number and didn't recognize it. The attendant grabbed it and said, "Whoever you are, if you know the party you are calling, you should contact the Tampa Police Department." He looked at the phone, then said, "They hung up." As soon as I said that, the other attendant led me into the lounge and handed me a set of coveralls. He used a radio he had and called, "Hey, Smith, I have everything taken care of. I'm leaving for lunch in less than 5 minutes." One of the attendants said, "Get out of those clothes and into that jumpsuit. Hustle." I took off the suit but left the vest on and put my shoulder rig back on underneath the big loose coveralls. As soon as I was ready, we went back out to the van. The guy handed me a cap and said, "Keep that on. Don't lose it." We drove out of the morgue's yard and headed into the city. We stopped at a McDonald's and bought a bunch of burgers before heading out toward Brandon. At 18th Street in the Yor City area, we pulled into a construction yard and parked under an overhang next to a big blue sedan with very dark windows. Howard got out saying, "You did good, kid. I'll bet that round hurt like hell. Too bad Billy didn't have his vest on. Did you guys catch the shooter? Got him and his driver alive too. We have them buried so far. No one can find them." Both of them tattled on Papa. "We're not going to pick him up yet because I think he thinks he's in the clear. I want him to do something stupid." "How about Billy's family?" I asked, afraid of the answer. "Nothing yet. That's probably why they killed Billy. They've probably either killed them or are using them. If Billy were alive, he would have hunted them down. So they killed him and hit you with some insurance. You doing okay?" "Fine, Howard." "Now what?" Howard thanked the morgue attendants and told them to go back to work. He turned back to me and said, "I'm putting you up in our bungalow for a couple of days. You'll like it. It's better than a hotel room, and you can even swim in the heated pool. The food isn't as fancy, but it is healthy." We drove out to the Carrollwood area down a private street with large homes on even larger lots. As we pulled up to a house, Howard used his cell phone to dial a number, and the garage door opened. He drove in and the door closed, leaving us in a lighted enclosed garage sitting next to a large black Expedition with very dark windows. When Howard opened the door to get out, I followed. I followed him right into the house to hear him call out, "Hey, Bobby, you have a guest. Come meet him and feed him." I was wondering why Howard was smiling. Holy, I thought that is one hell of a good-looking huge woman. That I am, honey, that I am. And who's talking? I'm sorry, I thought I was saying that in my head. You did fine, hon. I love an honest man. Bobby, this is Chad Johnson. You've probably heard some talk about the operation he's been involved with, and now he's a target. You're the guy who did over 90 in under 90 seconds on the decision course. I smiled and nodded. Howard said, "News travels fast around here. Serena probably told you." Bobby replied that Serena had mentioned it, and that she was glad to meet the guy who was making such an impression. Bobby also mentioned that Serena said she'd give anything to be a little younger, so she could have a chance with me. Howard didn't offer much help. "Yeah, she's taken a strong interest. Listen, Bobby, I've got to run. I'll be buried in paperwork all night. Keep this one low-key for me. I'll bring him some clothes later, but for now, that's all he's got." "You probably have something that'll fit him," Bobby asked. "Will he be here long?" "Long enough?" Howard replied. "I'd rather keep him close, but we might have to move him later." "No problem, boss. I'll make sure he's taken care of until you figure things out." With that, Howard left, leaving me with a woman who was probably 66 maybe 67 taller than Millie, but more athletic than bulky. She had a commanding presence, her height and build making her striking. "You have shorts on?" she asked. I nodded. "All right, change out of the coveralls so I can return them," she said. I took a moment to empty the pockets, pulling out my wallet and badge case. Bobby noticed and picked it up. "So Serena made you a full deputy marshal, not just a temp." She leaned over to get a better look at the badge. I looked away, slightly embarrassed at the awkwardness of the moment. She gave a light chuckle. "Relax. You'll do just fine out here. We're on the same team now anyway." She walked through the house, motioning for me to follow her. She pointed at a room and said, "That's your room." She pointed across the hall and said, "That's my room." She pointed at the floor and said, "There ain't no path between my room and your room." She looked at me a minute and said, "But then I may make one." We walked into a room that had clothes racks and stacks of all kinds of clothes. She said, "See if you can find yourself a pair of shorts or pants in here. Pick out a t-shirt and you'll be fixed. You probably don't need that vest on, so put it in your room and I'll show you the rest of the house." After finding a pair of shorts and stashing my vest, Bobby showed me a library room, a room with a large video screen, and a couple of different kinds of video machines. The living room was typical, as was the family room. The one predominant thing I noticed was that there were TVs everywhere, but none were on. Bobby said, "I like TV. It's company to me when I'm alone. I usually have a few on at a time. If you want to watch TV, pick one or several and enjoy. I like the noise and the movement. I don't know about you, kid, but I'm hungry. How about us grilling a steak? Okay with you?" I nodded with a big smile. I followed Bobby into the kitchen. We worked together to get the meat ready. Bobby showed me the grill on her patio in the screen pool area. I started the burners, but I told Bobby, "You need to teach me how to grill. I've never done it before except on little hibachi in the service. I'll have you cooking up a storm in no time. We'll work on it." I looked around at the large backyard area. The back of the house was taken up with a large pool covered with a screened cage. Beyond the caged pool was a decent-sized grassy area that ended on the sides with an 8-foot privacy wall of painted concrete block covered in some form of ivy. The pool and yard area was very private as there were no 2-story houses in the area, so no one had easy viewing access into the yard. It was just a little early for supper, but we were both obviously hungry. We cleaned up the dishes and adjourned to the big family room off the kitchen to watch TV. Bobby and I talked a long while with Bobby, saying she would give me the story of how she ended up working for the Marshal Service tomorrow. As we began to get sleepy, Bobby said, "Go to bed. Get a good night's sleep. I've turned on the alarm so you're safe. You don't have to sleep with your piece under your pillow." We got up and walked down the hall, and before I went into the bedroom, Bobby turned me around and gave me a very nice warm hug. Being folded into her huge body was definitely a way to arouse me, not to settle me down to sleep. She said, "You're safe. Sleep well. I'll see you in the morning." When I lay down, I kept reviewing the craziness of the day and thinking of how lucky I was to still be alive. I couldn't help but wonder how nuts Billy must have been, worrying about his family to just coldly kill people in custody. He was probably the prime example of temporary insanity. Finally, my mind settled down to let me go to sleep. I woke up around 6:30 and headed to the bathroom attached to the room. After a quick shower, I put on the same clothes I'd worn the day before. I need to find some more clothes and basic necessities soon. Maybe there was something useful in the large supply room, I remembered. I was just about to start looking for coffee and filters to use in the coffee maker when Bobby came out, still rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Oh, you're one of those early risers too, huh?" she said with a sleepy smile. "Here, let me get the coffee started. Watch closely so you'll know where everything is." Bobby was still in her nightwear, a long gown that looked like it was made of light fabric. She didn't seem to mind being casual around the place, clearly comfortable in her own home. Once the coffee was brewing, Bobby turned and noticed my slightly awkward stance. "You're too kind to be up and already moving," she said with a teasing smile. "Too bad you've already had your shower." I was about to head in myself. She gave me one of her usual warm, friendly hugs and a light, sisterly kiss on the cheek. It's nice having someone who gets excited about being part of the crew. I think we're going to get along great. She headed off to shower and get dressed for the day. I turned my attention to the fridge and found some bacon and eggs, which I pulled out and placed on the counter. The pots and pans were hung under the cabinets, so I grabbed a medium frying pan and started cooking the bacon. While that sizzled, I found the bread and margarine and got ready to make toast. Bobby returned just as the bacon finished cooking. I asked how she liked her eggs, and she said over easy. So I cracked 6 eggs into the pan and dropped 4 slices of bread into the large toaster. She set the table while I finished up, and we soon sat down to a warm breakfast. She smiled as we ate. "You're going to be a good addition here," she said. "You jump right in and help out." "Thanks for that. It makes things easier. I'll do my best to make sure you enjoy your time here." As we ate, she began giving me some background. About 5 years ago, my husband was killed in the line of duty. He was young and full of dreams to quickly become a station director for the marshal's office. An escapee made the decision for him as they were closing in on him. Danny wasn't wearing his vest and the escapee was armed. I became a young widow. I could see her eyes water while she narrated. I was lost and didn't know what to do with myself. All of the people from the office and the service were very supportive, but they can only do so much. Serena and Howard came up with this job for me. They needed a place, a safe house to keep people, while the service made up new identities or found places to ship them. They needed someone to run it, so they asked me. I said I would try it out and was even involved in buying and remodeling this place. The rest is history. I love the job. I continuously meet new and different people, get a free place to live, free food, and get paid to boot. I'm now a full U.S. Deputy Marshal with all the privileges and benefits that go with it. I got it pretty good, don't you think? You do, Bobby, but you don't get much personal time to meet another man for your life. Not true. I know all of the deputy marshals, and of course I know you now. Most of the guys are a little put off because I'm either too tall or they don't like my size. Boy, are they dumb, I exclaimed. You're beautiful, Bobby. I'm looking at you sitting here right this instant and can tell you that I'm still fascinated by you. You're just big, big all over, that's all. Think you can handle a babe that's 66 and a little over 300 pounds? I'd like to find out, I can tell you that. Bobby grinned, getting up to get us some more coffee. Tell me about yourself and how you came to be here. The story was long enough that we cleaned the table, put the dishes in the dishwasher, and we're on our 3rd cup of coffee by the time I finished. Bobby said, "Interesting. If you get to stay around here, you should think about the Marshal Service, or maybe even the FBI. It's a good living, a little strange, and only sometimes dangerous, but a great group to work with." The phone rang and Bobby looked at the caller ID before she answered. She said, "Hello?" And it became obvious that it was Serena from the office. Bobby blushed. Then I heard her say, "No, Serena, I didn't do that. He is tempting, though, isn't he?" You should have seen... Well, maybe not, but I can tell you he was equally interested. Maybe you can come out while he's here. Come this weekend and we'll hang out by the pool. It'll give you a chance to show off that neat new bikini you were telling me about. She listened while frowning. I could see her eyes water when she handed me the phone and said, "Serena and the boss want to talk to you." As soon as I took the phone, Bobby left the kitchen. Serena said, "I have your extra stuff and the clothes from the hotel. We'll drop it by on our checking out there later. I have to tell you that the station is really busy with the bureau downstairs working this case. It's almost Frenzy City in here. I'll let Howard tell you all about it. I'll come out Friday night or early Saturday, depending on what my mom is doing. See you then." Howard answered the phone with, "How are doing out there?" Isn't Bobby the best? She stops in my book and really looks out for the borders she has. I could hear him take a deep breath. "Ah," he paused. Then, "Ah, again." Then finally he said, "Ah, we found Billy's wife and kids. The scum suckers had probably killed them before they even sent Billy after you. I have to tell you, Chad, there's probably not a federal agent or deputy marshal around that's not hot on this case. DC is sending their best teams down to work here, and they've organized a task force all over the nation to clean this up. There's going to be a lot of hard feelings for a while. I'm glad I'm on this side of the law." "I'm sorry to hear about the family, Howard. You said that it might be that way. What a waste. I wish I were out helping you right now." "Tell you what," Howard said. Have Bobby take you through the video classes while you're out there and go over department functions and rules. You're already sworn in as a full deputy marshal thanks to Serena, so you might as well be ready to do whatever a marshal does. If I can, I'll bring you into work, but right now, your presence is too much of a distraction. It's better that you're considered a non-entity now. Read today's paper. It has a huge story on this whole thing. Get on the internet. Have Bobby show you the services website and see how big this thing is. We caught Papi last night trying to take off somewhere in a small airplane, so he's back in custody as a flight risk. The federal judge revoked bail indefinitely. His lawyers are going nuts petitioning the courts. We have the last 2 shooters we caught yesterday and have picked up a dozen or so of Papa's people. All are in private custody with special precautions around the whole place. We should not have a repeat of what happened to Billy. Anyway, stay safe, stay loose, and let Bobby teach you. She's a great gal. Enjoy yourself and relax. We'll get you out as soon as we can. Let me speak to Bobby, okay? I called out to Bobby, who picked up an extension. As soon as I heard her say hello to Howard, I hung up. A few minutes later, Bobby came in saying, I wish I were active in the field. I'd love to be the one to put some holes in those guys that killed Billy's family. God, how horrible. The big woman was choking up, almost sobbing. I held Bobby in a hug for a few minutes and led her to the couch in the family room area off the kitchen. We sat and I hugged her while she wept quietly for a while. She finally said, You know, this job lets me hear some of the most horrible stories that you could ever imagine, but it gives people like you and me a chance to help out in the big scheme of things. Billy and his wife were the ones who helped me over losing my guy. Without them, I would have chewed the end of Danny's Glock. They helped me back then, and now you're a great help. Thanks for understanding, Chad. Bobby sat up and encompassed me in her mass again, hugging me and giving me a very arousing kiss. She smiled at me. I'm really glad you are here for me after hearing another terrible story. You make me feel better about myself. She pulled away and said, Come on, let's put our swimsuits on and go out to the pool. I'll get my manuals and we'll begin your training after we splash around a little. Bobby, are there swimsuits in the clothing room? She smiled. Hey, H, maybe we should do this without the swimsuits. It might be more fun. She paused and said, Yeah, there are several in there. Go get one that's comfortable and that fits. I found a suit, then used my cane to sort of walk out to the pool without my fake leg. Bobby was in the pool hanging on the side and cocked her head, watching me hobble out there. You could have worn the thing and taken it off out here. I nodded and said, I need to get what they call a sports peg. They strap on and off quick, but those things cost as much as a good prosthesis. I'm going to work on making one myself and save $600 or $700, Bobby asked. You have more than one of those, don't you? No, just this one. I'll get another one soon, so I'll have a spare when the cup and straps wear out. It takes forever for them to repair those things. I went to the side of the pool deciding this section was deep enough. I dropped my cane, then pushed off with my good left foot and dove into the pool. Swimming is great exercise for someone with a prosthetic, as it helps develop upper body strength and engages my good leg and thighs, especially in a scissor motion. I'm a decent swimmer, but Bobby pushed off and powered through the water, alongside me with ease. She had strong strokes, and her larger build and strong arms helped her move faster than me. I tired out after about 20 minutes of intense swimming, and Bobby was breathing hard too. That was a good one, Chad. Most people just splash around and call that swimming. You really swim like I do. It's nice to have a good swim partner. Do you like to work out? I laughed. Truthfully, not really. But if you ask whether I work out, the answer is yes. I have to do some treadmill work almost every day and, if possible, an equal amount of stationary bike. I also use weights or weight machines for upper body conditioning. You are in luck. There's a large room in the back of the garage that has a treadmill, a stationary bike, and a series of machines and free weights that will keep you trim. I'll show you later. We'll work out after lunch. We climbed out of the pool and dried off. Bobby indicated we would sit out in the sun for a while and picked up a bottle of Copper Tone. Let me slick you up, then you can do me. She took pads from 2 loungers and laid them on the deck, indicating that I should lay down on one. The lotion was warm from the sun and felt great as she rubbed it into my back, shoulders, and arms. She did my leg and both thighs, pushing her hands up under the leg of the boxer-style swimsuit. The suit had a net to hold me instead of a jock, so her fingertips were bouncing against the netting. She told me to turn over, putting some lotion on my face and upper body. She had given me a very relaxing massage. Bobby was wearing a two-piece swimsuit that was a bit revealing for someone of her size. The top was held up by a halter strap, and when she lay on her stomach, she reached behind herself, adjusting the bottom piece by running her fingers under the hem and pulling the material up slightly. It caused the suit to shift in a way that made it appear more form-fitting. I swallowed a reaction and began applying lotion to her shoulders and back, mimicking the same motion she had used on me earlier. I was trying to be careful not to get lotion on her swimsuit, but then she reached back and loosened the bow at her neck and back, letting the straps fall away. I continued, giving her a careful and respectful massage across her back and shoulders. As I moved down her arms and sides, I noticed her overall frame. She was a tall, athletic woman, very fit and strong. As I applied lotion to her legs, I could feel the defined muscles in her thighs. Her size and strength were striking. I focused on the massage, keeping my thoughts in check and staying professional. When I paused and leaned back, she turned her head slightly and asked, "Want me to turn over?" Almost automatically, I responded, "Sure." With practiced ease, she rolled over on the lounger. In the process, her top got caught and came off, leaving only her swimsuit bottom. She didn't seem flustered, and I kept my gaze respectful. I poured more lotion and began applying it to her upper chest and stomach, avoiding sensitive areas, and then continued to her legs. She watched me as I worked, and there was a lightness in her expression, a shared understanding of trust and comfort rather than awkwardness. After finishing, I lay down on the pad next to her, simply breathing, a bit overwhelmed by the quiet intimacy of the moment. Not in a romantic or physical sense, but by the vulnerability and trust she had offered. "You're something else," Bobby said quietly with a smile. "Me?" "I think I'm still trying to catch my breath," I replied. "You're strong, and you carry yourself with confidence." "Thank you, Chad. That was kind." A thought occurred to me. You wouldn't happen to be related to a woman named Millie, would you? Her husband owns a bar. Before I could finish, she smiled. "Jonas, Millie is my older sister." "How do you know her?" I explained how I had become friends with Jonah and how Millie had a way of lighthearted teasing that left an impression. "Bobby Chadlet." "Yeah, it runs in the family. Millie used to tease my husband Danny too. He'd play along and it became our thing. Since Danny passed, we don't visit as often. I think Millie feels a bit guilty that she still has Jonah while I'm on my own now. With all the guys in the service here and that have been through here, I'm surprised that you haven't been scooped up by one of them and carried off into the sunset." The big woman repositioned herself on the cushions on her side, holding her head up with her hand. "Most men are afraid of me, Chad. I don't think any that I've met since I've been single would have even attempted to put lotion on me. That says something about you. You know, you dove in with both hands." The big lady actually giggled when she said that. "Serena told me you were the perfect gentleman, and you are. You did exactly what you were supposed to. Always respectful, never overstepping, even if you had the chance. Wait till I tell Serena about our day together. She's going to be so jealous." She mentioned the amazing dinner you treated her to and how thoughtful you were the whole time. I paused for a second before answering. "Serena told me when we first met that she felt like she was too old for me. That's never stopped us from being good friends. But I couldn't start something with someone who didn't feel comfortable from the beginning. It wouldn't be right." "You know, I'm quite a bit younger than Serena," she said. "And the little bit I may be older than you doesn't matter to me at all." She smiled. "I love the way you respond to me even when you're just sitting there quietly." Eyes closed. We both laughed, the moment light and teasing. We lounged in the sun, enjoying the quiet warmth of the day. The connection between us felt easy and comfortable, a calm, understanding forming without needing many words. Eventually, we slipped into the pool to cool off. The laughter continued, the closeness now, something more than just coincidence. Later, she looked at me and grinned. I wouldn't mind if this day lasted forever. I smiled back. Neither would I. Ring, ring, ring. Damn, Bobby said, pulling from me. The phone's ringing. I have to get that. She pulled herself easily from the pool, hustling into the kitchen to answer the phone. She came back outside carrying a portable phone, saying, Yep, I've been giving him some instruction, but we haven't gotten too far yet. She smiled at me and said into the phone, Yes, sir. He seems pretty relaxed and comfortable here. Yeah, I'll feed him well. He's a lot of fun to be around. I'll keep him for as long as you want. She listened a while. Oh, Howard, quit teasing. I should be so lucky to get a guy like Chad to be interested in me. Yep. I have the front perimeter boundary set. Who even knows this place exists? Only a few in our office know about this place. That's the way you've always kept it. Okay, he doesn't need any extra clothes right now. I have enough to take care of what he needs. Yes, sir. I know that if I need anything, I can call you anytime. Okay, I'll ask him and let Serena know. All right, Howard, I'll look for you tomorrow then. Make sure you call me before you come so I know to look for you. I'd hate to neutralize you trying to drive in the garage. The boss is being overly cautious. He says he thinks some of the men are being tailed when they move from the garage. He said he knows no one followed him yesterday when he brought you out here, but he doesn't want to take a chance to come out directly from the office. Your stuff from the hotel is being boxed and sent from the hotel to the office. One of the guys will probably have it shipped to a drop where it will be picked up and brought here. Bobby came over and helped me out of the pool and had me hold on to her as she dried me off. I used my cane to hobble over to sit under the patio on a fancy outdoor love seat. The big woman came over and sat next to me, turning toward me. She looked at me and said, Chad, do you have many close relatives like a mom or dad, brothers, sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins? I looked at her and said, My immediate family was all killed in a car accident while I was on my first tour over in Iraq. That would have been my mom, dad, and a sister. Both grandparents passed away over the last couple of years, and the only aunt I have is a recluse up in Montana somewhere. I remember it is up around Helena. She went up there after a boyfriend jilted her and stayed up there. That was my dad's sister. My mom's kin are all down in the Louisiana Bayou. There's Sinjun that lives out on the Swamp Islands. I've never been there, and I've never met any of them. Mom ran away from the swamp when she was 15. Met and married my dad when she was still 16. That's why I stayed in the service and kept going back to war zones. It wasn't a death wish, but it was a way for me to laugh at it. Bobby patted my hand and said, Well, stick around here and I'll lend you some of my kin. Besides Millie, I have 4 more sisters, both younger and older. The 2 youngest aren't married, but of course, Millie and my oldest sister are married. I have 2 brothers, one older and one younger than me. She smiled at me and said, And yes, all of us women in my family are big, really tall and strong.